Bounce rate versus exit rate. Two things which sound very, very similar when you go on Google Analytics, but they're actually very, very different. The thing is, people always talk about bounce rate and they forget about this so called exit rate, even though it exists and it's there and it's very, very useful. So I just thought, let's talk about it. Let's find out what is the difference between bounce rate and exit rate, how you can get the most out of it, and why you should really be focusing on both of them, not just one of them. Coming right up in this video. What's up everyone, I am Ahmed Khalifa and let's get straight into the differences between bounce rate versus exit rate. Starting with the obvious one that we all talk about, bounce rate. And really it's very simple. It just measures the percentage of people who have landed on a website and immediately left. And it's always based on a one page session, which is sometimes called as percentage of one page session. Very, very simple. Now exit rate is very, very different, and this is the percentage of people who have left your site from that particular page. And it could be as a result, for example, when they have landed on your home page, they have found the page by navigating through it, and then they have left that site. So the exit rate is the percentage of people who left that particular page after they found it from a home page and they have left. It's kind of very different to the bounce rate, obviously. One example of how useful exit rate is when you want to look at where in that funnel your customer, your audience has dropped off. So for example, if you have an e-commerce website, your audience, they arrive on a home page, they've gone through the navigation, they click on a category, they found a product that they potentially are looking for, but they have left that page, they have left that site completely. Why is that? The exit rate can give you a percentage of that, and this is where you can investigate further of why it's the case. It could be anything from the site speed to the structure of it, the content's not good enough, it's not selling enough, it's not good price, the quality of a product, it could be the quality of the image, the button's not working, it could be so many different things. And this is where it gets interesting. You investigate, go to Google Analytics, do some testing, and find out why are they leaving that all important purchase page. So as you can see, there is one key difference between bounce rate and exit rate. Bounce rate is people who are left after a one page session, and exit rate is people who have left that last page in that particular session. Very, very different, and it's something that I think we should all be aware of because it's very, very important. So why don't we just have a quick look on Google Analytics and just to get a better understanding of bounce rate and exit rate, where you can see them and what you should be aware of as well. There are different places you can do that, and in this case I'm under the behavior on all pages, and you can see the bounce rate and exit rate side by side for these particular pages. One thing you should be aware of though is that when you're looking at the overall metric but for the whole site, for me it's not very useful, it's not very important. It's potentially one of the most useless metric in the entire Google Analytics because it just didn't give you enough context. Especially when you scroll down, you look at these pages and you can see that certain pages had approximately 30% bounce rate, and then there are other pages which had almost 60%. This doesn't give you any context at all. The same thing applies to the exit rate. You should be looking at on a page by page level. You can see that the same exit rate is very low, which is very, very good, and then some which is much higher. You can investigate there as well. Same idea, you should be focusing really niche, really specific on a page by page level, not on an overview level like that. It just doesn't give you enough context. And then you can get further deeper than that. You can, for example, use the secondary dimension, and maybe you want to look at the source medium of each pages and look at how it's affecting the bounce rate and exit rate there. So for example, you can see for this page via Google Organic, this is the bounce rate and exit rate, but for other sources it's much higher. For example, for YouTube it's much higher. Is that normal? Maybe it's okay, maybe it's fine, you just don't know. This is where you have to investigate and find out further. I should also say that there are certain situations where it might be kind of good, maybe it's useful, maybe it's fine if a bounce rate is high or exit rate is high on specific pages. They may have found what they're looking for, they have done what they're looking for, and they have left the site, and that's a great thing. But if it's an important page, like a page where you want them to download an ebook or subscribe to a newsletter or to purchase, and it's very, very high, then you might want to have a check and see why is that the case, because maybe that's not normal for you. It just depends on the context, depends what your audience are looking for, why is it on that page, and that's it. So just because you have a high bounce rate or exit rate, it's not always a bad thing. You just need to dig a little deeper, understand what the audience are looking for, and then you get a better idea of what you can find. Hope that's it. But there's a lot more, obviously. So what I suggest is to check it in the description down below, read more about it, and understand better on what you can get out of bounce rate and exit rate, understand the difference even better, and just to make sure that you can get the most out of it, because you can get more leads, more conversion without adding a single new visitor on your site, just by looking at these two metrics. Very, very cool. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in a comment. I'm curious to know whether you even considered looking at exit rate ever. And if you are, what are you going to do with it as well? It's going to be quite awesome. I think you should do it. While you're at it, I would really appreciate it if you can subscribe to this channel as well. It makes me very, very happy. In the meantime, just make sure you do your thing, because it does matter. And I will see you next time. Take care.